Good evening, everyone. Mayor Allen will not be here tonight, so I, as Mayor Pro Tem, will be conducting the meeting. And the first order of the business is we'll ask Archbishop Slater to come up and give our invocation, and after that, we'll have the Pledge of Allegiance. Please stand.
Shall we pray? Father, we thank you for this moment, for that we can come together with our voices, Lord, to do business tonight. Father, guide us. Guide these, your men who we've put in position, Lord. Help them make the decisions, Lord, that is in our best interest. Father, guide us in all that we do, Lord. Help us to take responsibilities for our own communities. Father, help us. Give us the wisdom. Let this city be back on the map as being great again. In Jesus' name, amen.
Thank you, sir. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call, madam. Here. Here.
Councilmember Foster.
Present.
Councilmember Ham.
Present.
Councilmember Ahern.
Here. Next item is approval of the minutes. So moved. Do I have a second? Second. All in favor? Raise your right hand. Okay. The first order of business is a resolution expressing appreciation for Mr. Leslie Artis, an employee of the city of Goldsboro for more than 39 years. And that's a long time. I'd like to read it, and then I'll ask Mr. Artis to come up here. And whereas Leslie Artis retires on December the 1st, 2019, as street maintenance equipment operator with the Public Works Department of the city of Goldsboro with more than 39 years of service. Whereas Mr. Leslie began his career on December the 20th, 1978 as a laborer one with the Public Works Department. And whereas on May the 1st, 1985, Mr. Leslie was promoted to laborer two with the Public Works Department. On August the 21st, 1985, he was promoted to equipment operator one with the Public Works Department. And on May the 4th, 1987, he was promoted to maintenance worker one with Public Works Department. On July the 4th, 2003, Mr. Leslie was promoted to street maintenance equipment operator with the Public Works Department, where he has served until his retirement. Whereas he has proven himself to be a dedicated and efficient public service who has gained the admiration and respect of his fellow workers and the citizens of the city of Goldsboro, and the mayor and city council of the city of Goldsboro are desirous on behalf of themselves, city employees, and the citizens of the city of Goldsboro of expressing to Ms. Leslie Artis their deep appreciation and gratitude for the service rendered by him to the city over the years. Now therefore be it resolved by the mayor and city council of the city of Goldsboro that we express to Mr. Leslie the very best wishes for success, happiness, prosperity, and good health in his future endeavor. This resolution shall be incorporated into the official minutes of the city of Goldsboro and shall be in full force and effect from and after this 18th day of November 1918. Offer a motion for approval.
So moved.
Second. All in favor? Okay. Now, Mr. Leslie, come on up. And Rick, you want to come say some stuff?
Somebody found a thing or two to say about it. Everything's coming.
I can't think how many storms this man has worked. He was 39 years. And how many? You want to get some more people up here too? Come right here, sir. Get these guys up here. Some of you come over here too.
Wow, look at all that. That's awesome.
Well, you want to take pictures first or have me talk? Might take a while to talk.
Well, let's take pictures first. Here, hold this right here. There you go. Both of us gotta hold our belly feet.
Thanks for reminding me.
Okay, Rick?
Yep, no, definitely well-deserved, well-earned. Snapper's been with us almost 40 years, Public Works Department. He's definitely left his mark. Some good, some bad, I guess, huh? Definitely left his mark. I don't think we'd be here. He had an unfortunate accident, and it's taken a little longer to recover. So it's kind of bittersweet, but definitely well-earned, well-deserved. In fact, he hasn't even retired yet, and in true Snapper form, he was in my office last week negotiating with me about possibly coming back part-time once he gets 100% again. And that's just Snapper. He loved his job, his work ethic, extremely responsible, dependable. You can count on him. Great attitude more than anything else. Just a simply hard worker, a pleasure to have in the department. And the streets crew, I'm sure that they'd all say the same thing. We'll miss you. We wish you the best in your future endeavors, your retirement, and whatever else you decide to do. And yes, if we need a temporary backhoe operator, equipment operator on an asphalt crew, I'll be calling. But I wish you nothing but the best. Pleasure. I've only known you 6 years, but it's definitely been a pleasure. And thank you for everything you've done for the city.
Would you like to say so? Okay.
Come on now.
How about it? Okay. They're gonna miss you too. I don't know if I can drive a backhoe like you can. So, thank you very much. Good job. Our next presentation is by Mr. Bobby Harvey. Well, we'll let everybody check out here. Mr. Harvey.
Pass out. I get y'all to share over there.
Thank
I
you.
might have a few more. How y'all doing today?
Doing fine, sir.
We're here because we're the Goldsboro Jets semi-pro football team. We're a newly formed semi-pro football team here in Goldsboro. What we're coming for is asking for the city's support. Also asking to be designated as the official semi-pro football team of Goldsboro. We went out and joined the toughest league on this side of the country. It's a 40-team league. It spans about 7 states, and we'll routinely be playing against ex-NFL and college players. So the competition is really tough. We're not coming to ask for a place to play. And before I speak on that, I just want to say thank you to Mr. Taj Polak for advocating for us. I want to say thank you to Principal Nelson at Goldsboro High School, and thank you to the athletic director, Katie, at Goldsboro High School. We will be playing our home games there, and what we're coming for the city to ask for is any non-monetary support, whether it's practice facilities or anything we may need coming in the future. We're not really looking for money. We're engaging and talking to corporate sponsors at this time. So we just need the support of the city, and I think it'll really be a good thing. As you can see, we're gonna have a strict moral conduct code. Every player is gonna be required to, donate a certain amount of their time to the community, and I just think it's gonna be a really good, positive thing for the city of Goldsboro.
That's pretty
One of my
fantastic.
players right here, Ms. Jeremy Page, would like to say a few words, and we also have one of our head coaches right here as well.
Hey guys, Jeremy Paget. First and foremost, I'm going to be your fullback for the team, but also vice president of construction for a company that's going to pretty much sponsor our football team. Other than that, we got a group of guys that are sharing the same passion, just ready to play the sport. Thank you.
How you doing? I'm William Hinton, one of the assistant coaches, and I want to say that it's an honor to be here tonight, and that we're looking forward to getting this season going. As Coach said, it's going to be a tough competition, and we're not shying away from it. We're gonna entertain and we're gonna compete. Thank you.
We got one more thing to say. There hasn't been a viable semi-pro football team in Goldsboro for over a decade. Now, there are a lot of Eastern North Carolina teams that are based in other cities that extract talent from Goldsboro. But for the lack of a better word, there hasn't been a Goldsboro team that was for us and made by us until now. So I think that should be noted. And I don't think that anybody should be able to come in this town and extract good players. I think that they should be able to play for their own hometown as opposed to a team that operates here that may be from another city.
When will your season start?
Our season starts February 22nd. We'll be on the road going to Kings Mountain. Our first home game, I think, is a week after that, and we'll be hosting the Carolina Cardinals, which is from Raleigh.
Where are they from, Marvin?
Huh?
Cardinals.
The Carolina Cardinals are in Raleigh, which the regular season is composed of primarily North Carolina and South Carolina teams. The playoff seeding is done like the BCS was done a few years back. Style points and all of that matters. If you make it to the playoffs, then you'll be going on the road and you'll be traveling through 7 states. And like I said, there are teams represented in most of the states in the South and as far west as Alabama.
How
That's
about the Cape?
fantastic. Kind of like Legion Ball, isn't it?
It's
Legion
really
Ball
good.
for football.
I've been snooping on some of the other teams' Facebook pages, and I'm seeing ex-Carolina Panthers, ex-Gamecocks, ex-Giants. So I'm really excited for us to get in there and test our mettle against some of those guys and see what we got.
That's exciting.
Yes, sir, it is.
Thank you very much.
Would you like to say something before we go?
Hi, my name is Freddie Jones. Pretty much to reiterate what he was saying, Goldsboro is known for Seymour Johnson Air Force Base. When you look up Goldsboro online, the first thing you see is either something negative or Seymour Johnson Air Force Base. Let's give the community something to see that's positive. The other people that's not from here to see something that's positive. If we do good, in which I'm pretty sure we are going to do great, if we do good, the first thing that comes up is something positive that'll show that, okay, Goldsboro isn't just about this. Goldsboro has other things that it's putting out or that's doing great in the community. Like we're going to do community service. We're going to do things that's going to actually give back to the community also. We just want support from the community.
Okay. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Yes,
Good
sir.
luck.
So,
Mr. Harvey.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
So are you gonna be playing as well?
I absolutely will be.
wow.
I absolutely will be wearing number 63, my Goldsboro High School number.
Okay.
I actually have a few other Goldsboro legends. Robert Coates will be one of the quarterbacks. He's going to play. There's going to be a lot of names that are going to surprise you. Actually, Joe Baker V, who's a Division I wide receiver for Shaw University, he just signed on to play. With the competition that we have, we're going to need it all. But I think we're going to surprise people at how competitive we're going to be. This league actually has an app where you will be able to watch games when we're on the road. You'll be able to pick your favorite player here, check my stats at real time. Every time I get a sack, you'll be able to watch that. So I really like the direction that this league is going in. And like I said, we joined the toughest league that we can find.
Good stuff.
Outstanding.
Yes, no participation trophies here. We're going all the way. Yes, sir.
Outstanding.
And I'm going to have the best stats.
All right.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Hope you do better than the Panthers did, yes.
I think we will. I think we will.
They were pretty sorry. Thank you. The next item of business is public hearings. We have 4 public hearings tonight. Ms. Jennifer?
Good evening, Council. Item D is Z 2019, David and Ashley Allen. The property is located on the southeast corner of Mole Smith Lane and Double D Lane. The applicant's requesting the rezoning of a portion of the property from R20A, RMNC, which is residential manufactured non-conforming, to RM9, which is residential, which would allow the placement of one manufactured mobile home on an individual lot. Surrounding zoning to the north and south, you have R20A residential. To the east, R20A R20A residential, as well as R20A RM NC residential, and to the west, R20A residential. The property is currently a portion of a larger tract consisting of about 2.91 acres and occupied by one manufactured home. The property is zoned R20A RM NC, and the area looking to be rezoned is approximately 1.0 acres, where the placement of a manufactured home is anticipated to go. Adjacent and surrounding the properties primarily consist of single-wide manufacturers' home located on private lots. East of the subject property is an existing 6-unit non-conforming manufactured home park and 3 private lots rezoned to RM9 residential in 2001 and 2017. If the rezoning is approved, the applicant intends to locate a double-wide manufactured home upon the property, meeting the requirements of the RM9 zoning district. The RM9 zoning district would require the manufactured home to comply with city and state regulations. Manufactured homes are required to have the appearance of a site-built, single-family dwelling unit permanently located on its lot with a pitch roof, masonry underpinning, parallel to the front property line and in good conditions with no signs of rust. The property will be required to be subdivided in accordance with the city's subdivision regulations. The city's comprehensive land use plan recommends that the property for low-density residential development. City water and sewer are not available to serve the property, and the property is not located in a special flood hazard area. Undedicated private dirt paths through existing easements serve properties in the area. As a result, the subject lot does not have frontage on an improved public street. The applicant has requested a modification of the requirement that all lots front on an improved street in order to allow the placement of the mobile home. At this time, there is no action necessary, and the Planning Commission will have a recommendation for City Council at your December the 2nd meeting. Any questions for staff?
This is a public hearing. Anybody appearing for or against this matter? Speak now. Otherwise, we'll go to the next public hearing, Z-21-19, St. James Church of Christ.
As Mayor Pro Tem just explained, it's Z-2119, St. James Church of Christ. The property is located on the south side of West Chestnut, the west side of Keon Avenue, and the east side of South Alabama Avenue. The applicant requests the rezoning of 5 individual lots from R6 residential to ONI1, which is office and institutional, for the purpose of renovating and expanding an existing church, which is adjacent to the subject property. Currently, the applicant owns the 5 individual lots, which are located in the R6 residential zoning district, and churches are not permitted within the R6 zoning district. As you can see on the map in front of you, there are 5 individual lots, and they vary between 0.07 acres and 0.14 acres. Surrounding zoning, to the north you have R6 residential, to the south office and institutional 1, and to the east and west you have R6 zoning. As previously stated, if the zoning change is approved to office and institutional, the applicant intends to combine all the lots, renovate, and expand the existing church. Site, landscape, grading, and drainage plans will be required in accordance with the city's Unified Development Ordinance, and City Council approval will be necessary. The city's updated land use comprehensive plan designates the property for high-density residential. City water and sanitary sewer are available to serve the property. The property is located within a special flood hazard area known as the 100-year floodplain. Any commercial development will be subject to meeting compliance with the city's floodplain regulations. This is a picture of the church itself, the property, requesting rezoning. And at this time, there is no action necessary, and the Planning Commission will have a recommendation for your December the 2nd meeting.
Again, this is the public hearing. Anyone speaking on behalf of St. James Church of Christ? For or against? Okay, Ms. Collins on Goldsboro Housing Authority.
Item F is Z-2219, Goldsboro Housing Authority. The property is located on the south side of East Walnut Street between South Carnegie Street and South Slocum Street. The applicant is requesting the rezoning of the property from R9 residential to R6 conditional district to limit the use of the property to a parking lot associated with an existing senior living apartment complex. Surrounding zoning: to the north, you have R9 residential; to the south and east, R6 conditional district residential; and to the west, R9 residential. The property is currently heavy vegetated and undeveloped. It is located adjacent to a multifamily apartment complex formerly known as the Walnut Street School Apartments. Goldsboro Housing Authority owns the apartment complex, which consists of one 2-story building containing 19 apartments and one 3-story building containing 36 apartments. All 55 apartment units are vacant and in the process of being renovated for future occupancy. The city's comprehensive land use plan recommends mixed-use downtown development for this property. As previously stated, the applicant proposed to rezone the property from R9 residential to R6 conditional district, and if approved, intended to develop the property for the use of a parking lot. Site plan approval is required at the time of the rezoning for the conditional district. However, the applicant was requesting a waiver of the site plan until development plans were completed. The City Council has the right to waive the site plan requirement at the time of rezoning, provided a site plan is approved by City Council prior to the issuance of any development permits. On November the 6th of 2019, the Planning Department received a request from the applicant to withdraw the subject rezoning request without prejudice. The applicant indicated their desire to clean up the property and use as green space. So tonight I ask that you accept the applicant's request to withdraw the rezoning without prejudice.
Okay, thank you. Again, do we have any comments for or against, even though this has been rescinded? They have rescinded.
Yes, I have a brief comment for, if I may.
Yes, sir.
It'll save time in the public hearing, and I'll have to talk to them. I just learned that the developer decided to withdraw this application late yesterday. So the handout I have is what I intended to say had they not done so. I congratulate them on making that choice, open space as opposed to parking lot. And I want to thank the planning staff for their professional work and unbiased hearing all sides, and the recommendations come forward. I thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. The next item on public hearing is CU-12-19.
Mayor Pro Tem Broadway, I'll need you for a motion to be made to accept
okay.
the request to withdraw the application.
Do I have a motion to rescind?
Motion to rescind the item number Z22-19, Goldsboro Housing Authority.
Second.
All in favor, raise your right hand. All opposed? Motion carries. Good, sir. Next item is CU-12-19, Henry Battle, east side of St. James Street between Spruce Street and Pine Street.
Yes, item G is a conditional use permit request before you tonight. The applicant's requesting a conditional use permit to allow the operation of a place of entertainment with ABC permits. As part of the request, separate site plan approval is required. The property is currently zoned Central Business District and has an area of approximately 0.526 acres. The site is in the location of the former Elks Lodge, and a physical address of the property is 312 South James Street. In 2007 and 2008, City Council denied conditional use permits to operate a place of entertainment with ABC permits and without ABC permits, respectively, at the subject property. In 2010, City Council approved site and landscape plans to allow an indoor flea market to operate upon the property. Site plan approval is valid for 1 year from the date of the City Council approval. Since the applicant never commenced development of the property, the site plan expired, and since then the property has remained vacant. On July 15th, 2019, Goldsboro City Council amended the city's Unified Development Code as it pertained to bars, nightclubs, pool halls, microbreweries, places of entertainment, both public, private, and nonprofit, with ABC permits. If you recall, those regulations that were amended were within an area of the CBD bounded by the south side of Ash Street, east side of George Street, the north side of Elm Street, and the west side of William Street. Shall be no minimum separation distance from residentially zoned or developed property, and a 50-foot minimum separation distance shall be required for standalone churches or schools. For the remainder of the CBD not described in the boundaries I just mentioned, the minimum separation distance from residentially zoned or developed property, standalone churches or schools, was limited to 100 feet. In the CBD, there shall be no minimum separation distance between two such establishments, and within the area of the CBD bounded by the south side of Ash Street, the east side of George Street, the north side of Elm Street, and the west side of William Street, there should be no minimum off-street parking requirements. The property is zoned Central Business District, and a place of entertainment with ABC permits is permitted in the CBD only after the issuance of a conditional use permit approved by City Council. In addition, as stated earlier, separate site plan approval is required. As previously stated, the site was the location of the former Elks Lodge. It contains an existing single-story brick veneer and concrete block building of approximately 3,408 square feet on one private lot. The building was built prior to the adoption of City's Unified Development Ordinance, and as such, building setback modifications will be necessary. The applicant's floor plan indicates a main ballroom assembly area consisting of approximately 1,200 square feet, a seating area consisting of 13 tables and 78 chairs, a kitchen, storage rooms, offices, and restrooms. According to the applicant, the facility would be available to rent for special occasions such as birthday parties, ballroom dancing, wedding receptions, family reunions, and live entertainment. Hours of operation is reservations only, Monday through Sunday, and no activities past midnight. Number of employees are 2 to 4. As previously stated, a 50-foot minimum separation distance shall be required for standalone churches or schools. Currently, the existing building is approximately 200 feet from a standalone church. Since the property is bounded by the south side of Ash Street, the east side of George Street, and the north side of Elm Street, and the west side of William Street, there are no off-street parking requirements. The applicant is requesting a modification of the city's street tree requirement due to limited space and overhead utilities at the front of the existing building. The applicant is also asking for a modification of the required Class C 20-foot wide landscape buffer for approximately 100 feet along the northern property line, since the subject property is adjacent to residentially developed property. The existing building is located less than 5 feet from the northern property line. In addition, the applicant is requesting a modification of the required Type A 5-foot landscape buffer along the southern property line for approximately 100 feet, since the existing building is located less than 5 feet from the southern property line. The subject property is not located within the Goldsboro, our historic district, and the property is not located in a special flood hazard area. And at this time, there is no action necessary. The Planning Commission will have a recommendation for City Council at their meeting December the 2nd. And this is just a picture of the elevation of the building. Any questions for staff?
This is a public hearing for this matter. Do we have anyone speaking for or against? Yes, sir.
I will have to.
She'll have to swear you in, sir.
If there's anyone else who would like to speak, I can swear you all in at the same time. If you'll raise your right hand and place your left on the Bible, do you swear or affirm the comments you are about to provide are the whole truth and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay.
What they doing? Yes, my name is Pastor Will Best, and I'm the pastor of the church that's less than 50 feet from the property. And the only concern we have is that we have a daycare also that's right at that location, and we're looking to turn our daycare into a second shift, which will not be closing till 11 o'clock at night. And I know they said they're closing at 12, but 11 o'clock at night, and some of our services get out at 10:30 at night also. And the other concern we have is that after like a Saturday night party, we have to clean up. We have the land right there on South James and Pine Street on the corner there. So all of the parking that would be the overflow parking, they more likely will park on our land, and we would have to be the one probably clean up the bottles and cans and all that stuff. So I'm just asking City Council that they would consider our church property and our daycare also.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much.
Hi, I'm Bob Kenny. My wife and I live in the neighborhood there. We're opposed and hope you are opposed to the modifications and zoning on this area. It's pretty much a residential area. We don't want to see loud music. loud parties. If you're talking about 78 chairs and 13 tables, plus a dance floor, that's quite a few people and a lot of automobiles to park on the city streets. So we're talking a traffic jam, as well as the people who go outside and drink and continue their partying. So we ask you to vote against it, please.
Okay, thank you. Is there anyone else to speak for or against? You're gonna need to swear in, sir. Melissa, you got one more, I think, too.
We'll make room. You'll raise your right hand and place your left on the Bible. Do you swear or affirm the comments you are about to provide are the whole truth and nothing but the truth, so help you God? Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Good evening. My name is Vincent Jones, and I've been in Goldsboro here for like 31 years. I'm ex-military. I moved here back in 1988. And I can remember when James Street was a different time, different era. We all know, if you lived here, you already know the history of it. I don't need to go down that road. But I'm here on behalf of Mr. Battle, and I have known him for quite some time. And I've seen how he's turned this building and how he's reconstructed it, and how he's taken and did the things I think the board has been asking. But I've also noticed that around him there are starting to be other people occupying or reconstructing buildings and basically doing the same thing he's trying to do. And I think he deserves the same thing as a black owner, and there's not many black owners of anything around here. And I don't think I think everyone should be biased and think about now the future. What's been going on now, how the streets of James Street on that particular end has been changed. And when someone wants to have an event or something like myself, I'm 54 years old, all right? I'm not into this disco and, the young people and all that. I don't have nothing against the young people. But he provides a place where someone my age can come out and actually have something nice. I don't know about someone saying that they've seen a bunch of people hanging out. I don't know about all this. I don't witness things like that. I don't hang out late at night anyway. So my thing is, I think he deserves the opportunity. Everyone deserves opportunity. Take in consideration and actually watch James Street and look at that end of James Street right now. I mean, because anytime there's something wrong, the city can always stop it anyway. So my thing is to take it in consideration and give Mr. Battle an opportunity. Give him an opportunity to prove to you and to the citizens of Goldsboro that he can actually have something nice and run it the way that the board is going to allow him. Please, give him an opportunity. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
My name is Deborah Battle. Henry Battle is my brother. And I always have supported him. He have always liked it, entertainment. It ain't too many places here in Goldsboro where he haven't entertained on the base, the country club, which is now the event center, Lane Tree, Dilla Alumni building. All I'm asking is give him an opportunity. He deserves it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening.
Good evening.
My name is Sheila Lee, and I'm here on behalf of Mr. Battle. I've known him for quite a few years. He's a very generous person. He gives back to the community. I think it's only fair to give him the opportunity to run his business as he chooses, as well as his constituents. I see no problem with it, with the bottles or whatever they're talking about. I've been there on occasions. There's none of that. He makes sure that everything is taken care of. He's proud of where he come from. He's proud of what he has. And I think it's only fair for him to be able to run his business as he chooses. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Good evening. I am Diane McKeever. I am Henry's oldest sister. And I'm just asking that y'all allow and give my brother a chance. I said, y'all denied him twice. I said, but I'm asking that you please allow him a chance this time. I said, but then I think somebody was saying about the church. Is there a church by is it on Pine? I think that's Pine Street. Is it on Pine Street?
Mm-hmm.
Is that close by the carousel?
Yes.
Okay. And my thing of it is, I mean, you sit here a couple of months ago and you approved for something that the carousel, which is not nowhere from my brother's place, then right down there, it's all right there, and it's right down the street on the corner of James and Chestnut, you approved something, and that's right there not far from my brother. I said he don't believe in no whole lot of mess and trouble. He's a quiet person. He's humble. And you won't have to worry about any kind of violence or trouble, nothing like that, because he don't believe in that. He believe in what's right. In fact, they trying to say trash bottles or whatever, outside or whatever, he gonna make sure if that was the case, it's gonna be cleaned up. It's not gonna be no whole lot of trash and mess out there. And I'm just asking that you give him a chance, because he deserves a chance. He been there 13 years. Y'all denied him twice. But I said, you know what? God got it in control. And you cannot do wrong and get by. I'm just asking in the name of Jesus to give my brother a chance, because he deserves a chance. He have had that building for 13 years, and y'all, it's like you have held him hostage because you wouldn't approve it for him twice. And I'm just asking that you give him a chance. Let him prove to you, to the city, that he can do it. I know he can do it, because he's an humble person. And he don't mind helping people and whatever. If somebody asks him for something or to do something for them, he's going to do it. And he don't mind doing it. And I'm just asking you to give him a chance. Just like you gave other people a chance, give him a chance. He deserves a chance. He been there 13 years. It's time. He deserves a chance. Thank you.
Thank you.
Left on the Bible, do you swear or affirm the comments you are about to provide are the whole truth and nothing but the truth, so help you God? Thank you.
I'm sorry, I was not gonna come up here, but after hearing and I know that there's an Elks Lodge on Chestnut Street, because I just went there recently for a class reunion thing, and there's a church right beside it, and I do realize that that the idea is that maybe that church did not come forth and say they had an issue, but I know we had a great event there that night. They had a bar, and just like in most bars, you don't take the drinks outside of the building. So I'm not sure when you're saying bottles and things, every drink people were being served inside that bar were in cups or things, and they were disposed inside. So I guess if you want to hold him to all drinking must take place inside the facility at the bar, okay. But I do think that he would not be the first facility in Goldsboro District that's close to a church. And I realize you have a church here saying, and I am a church-going woman, so I'm not trying to disrespect the gentleman's church, but the gentleman said, my church is planning to start having extended hours. And my thing is, are you planning to have extended hours now that you know that this is happening, or did you really have that in your planning? And did your planning go through this planning as he's trying to do? So I think right now the decision should be based on what that church currently does. And then the restriction should just be maybe you can't bring bottles outside the actual facility. But I don't think the decision not to have the facility should be based on bottles. And that's just my take. I think the man should be provided the opportunity. I'm sorry that if the other gentleman has a resident near there, but it's not that far. All of it's not that far from the other bars that are downtown on Center Street. And that's all I got to say.
Thank you.
How you doing?
Good to see you, sir.
I would like to say, like the people have already spoke, I've been there 13 years. It's not been an easy job. It's not been an easy job. But I'm gonna say this. I lay my sword and my shield down. I accept the kiss of Judas. Because without opposition, there will be no salvation. I'm here to present this building to this council and the Goldsboro community. 312 South James Street, which is actually improved benevolence and protecting of the Elks of the world, the Black Elks Lodge, erected 1949. Now, in 1949, the U.S. military, the United States military, was segregated in 1949. Now, I don't know if everybody knew that, but it was segregated in 1949. I'm not here to ask for 40 acres and a mule, something I should already have. I'm here to ask to allow me to provide this place to the city of Goldsboro, a place where they can come and have meet and greets, birthday parties, family reunions, wedding receptions, line dancing, etc. I'm not asking for no one to just give this. I want to earn it. You won't give me the opportunity to earn it? Well, give me the opportunity to fail at trying to earn it. I say to this council, is this the land of the free? Home of the brave? If so, prove it. Is this the land of liberty and justice for all? Prove it. Is this the land of life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness? Prove it. I don't know if anybody's familiar with the senior games, but there's a section of senior games where they have what they call the Silver Follies, and it's right here at the Paramount Theater. And you can ask anybody that's ever been at that Paramount Theater if they've been there between 2013 and today. I've been a part of the senior games since 2013, since I turned 50. Anybody that's been to that Paramount Theater down there, they know exactly who I am. They know exactly what I bring to the table. It's undeniable. Line dancing is what I do. So I'm saying to each and every one of you, think about what I'm saying to you. If anybody deserves a chance, I do. If I do something wrong that don't suit what you put before me, you know how to call me back. Call me back up here in front of you, and I can speak on it. But I feel like I deserve it. And if anybody deserves it, I do. Now, the biggest thing that I really dislike about this is the 13 years that I've been there. Let me tell you something. From the time I purchased that building in 2006, it's been nothing but problems when it came, because the city of Goldsboro had a lien on the property when I bought it. And it's been nothing but issues all the time. I mean, all the time.
And if I could sit here and tell you the atrocities that I've been through in the last 13 years, it would take until tomorrow. But the one thing I will say, the biggest thing I hate about all of this is I lost my mother in May of last year at 89 and a half. And the biggest thing that bothers me is the fact that she didn't get a chance to see what I've always told her I could and will do with that building. That's what I really hate about all of this. But all I can say is just think about it. Because if I can't bring it to pass, then I surrender. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Gentlemen, my concern is that come December 2nd, we're going to have a new council coming in here, and they may not have had the opportunity to be in this meeting and see the people come forward and show their concerns. So I'd like to make a motion that we approve item CU 1219 for approval.
Second that.
We have still got to have the recommendation of the planning commission.
Do we have
Planning commission has to hear it.
We have to have your recommendation. Okay.
We got planning right here?
And the other
The
thing,
planning commission is
and
here.
the other thing, from what I understood, and I think the clerk can verify this, the old members that aren't returning will be at that meeting to vote on anything that goes through public hearing tonight. The current council votes on it. Is that right?
Yes, we'll handle old business first, and then you will have your organizational meeting follow that. And everybody then will be sworn in after that, so.
We have a motion, we have a second. All in favor?
But we can't
We can't really vote on it, I'm just giving you a chance. Okay, we'll do that.
Yes, I'll do that.
Okay,
So
thank you.
pertaining to item G, CU 1219, I'm going to withdraw that motion till December 2nd. Second.
And the second, I second.
Then, okay, all in favor? Motion's withdrawn. Okay, planning commission, thank you. Thank you for coming. You've got a number of things on your plate for this one. And when is the next planning commission is next Monday night? Next Monday night, right here. And they're excused. The next public hearing is the 2018-2019, what we call the CAPER.
Good evening, Council. Item H is your public hearing for your 2018-2019 CAPER. It's to allow the citizens the opportunity to comment on the City of Goldsboro Consolidated Annual Performance and Evaluation Report, CAPER, for the entitlement grantees receiving Community Development Block Grant, CDBG, and Home Investment Partnership Home Funds. The CAPER provides the opportunity for the city to assess its annual performance during the most recent completed program year of July 1 of 2018 through June 30th of 2019. A 15-day public comment period began November 11, 2019, and will end on November 25th, 2019. A public hearing must be held during this public comment period. Comments received at this public hearing and during the 15-day period will be incorporated as part of the 2018-2019 CAPER. Advertisements were placed in the Goldsboro News August on October 31st of 2019 relative to holding the public hearing and the 15-day public review. A draft of the 2018-2019 CAPER has been prepared and made available and placed at and on public access sites. By motion after the public hearing, accept the recommendation of staff to direct the staff to incorporate any comments at this public hearing into the city's CAPER, and to authorize the staff to submit any comments received to the Department of Housing and Urban Development, HUD, after the required comment period has ended. Any question of staff? Thank you.
Okay, do we have any comments? This is a public hearing. Do we have any comments on the CAPER at this point in time.
Good evening again. I did come prepared for this. I would like my comments to start off just right off top to just kind of sum it up, because I do have quite a bit, but accountability and responsibility is where I see one of the biggest issues with the CAPER. Starting out with page 1 of the annual action plan, because the CAPER is supposed to be the assessment of the annual action plan for 2018-2019 is what we're looking at. But on page 1 of the 2018-2019 actual action plan, there is a comment on page 1 that says, as previously stated, the action plan is a requirement of the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development designed to encourage more coordination of economic and community development activity at the local level, to promote citizen participation, and to simplify the process for obtaining federal funds under FUD programs. And I highlighted community development activities at the local level and promote citizen participation from that area. Mainly because, first, it seems that the community that needs more of the community development activity has received the least assistance. In 2016 and 2018, the city had 2 very severe storms, and the assistance that were provided, and I'm not saying there was not any assistance provided, however, they were not accurately identified to the public. And so that makes one assume that no assistance was provided. There is a chart that kind of says, home, but it just really does not sit well. And when you ride into communities that that were severely impacted by the storm and see them not being taken care of, then you just assume they were not assist. My next point to that paragraph, promoting citizen participation has not been done adequately as well. On page 3 of the action plan, there's even something where it says this was done through public meeting hearings scheduled by the city, which was advertised in the local newspaper, Goldsboro News Argus, local television station, and the city's website, and email blast at least 14 days in advance. And I live in the city. I did not receive an email blast dealing with the 2017-2018 CAPER nor the annual action plan. The city of Goldsboro provided a minimum of 3 public meetings and or hearings. I don't recall 3 public meetings. I do recall going to a meeting in 2019 for the 2019-2020, and we do see in the packet of dates that she's showing that it was advertised, and when I say she, the director, that it was advertised, but I do not think that 3 were accurately done. So my suggestions to make sure that it is more transparent, because that's my thing, is accountability, responsibility, and some more transparency to happen. I am also suggesting that as we add to the things that have already said that are being utilized, since for some reason it does not create enough public notice, because everybody does not read the News Argus, and apparently everybody doesn't go to the website, and I don't know what television station, but here are some other suggestions. Just like we get a newsletter for the water bill, why not send out the notice in the water bill? So that's a suggestion. It can come in the water bill when you're having this notice so that it can get out within, and people know within 30 days that they can come to the public forum. I know the city has a Facebook, but Facebook these days has a way to alert you and say, hey, you need to look at this. You could maybe even do a sponsor ad. Those ads are very inexpensive, especially if you're only running it for 2 to 3 weeks, which is what has been given for this particular CAPER. That same time notice we got from October 31st to show up today for our public comments could have also went through Facebook. And then, of course, I think I've come to you guys before and mentioned about the robocall. I know you guys said you tried not to do those as much, but seeing that it is our tax dollars and we do need to be more transparent and more informed, these are my suggestions of ways to make sure that you promote citizens' participation. I do realize that there is a Commission on Community Relations Committee that is involved, and that they should have more action and participation in the creation of these action plans and these assessments. Per my discussion with a couple of the members, they are normally just provided a brief from the Community Relationships Director on what has taken place. And then we can't validate if their word is any different than what is in these particular documents in black and white, because there's no minutes to the meetings of the Community Relations Commission. And so I even looked up the Community Relations Commission's bylaws. Their bylaws, I was looking for the minutes, there are no minutes, but I did find their bylaws, and in their bylaws, it says that they are to advise and assist the City of Goldsboro in program funding and policy recommendations regarding the Community Block Grant and Human Investment Partnership Program Home. The Commission has the following functions and the duties in order to carry out the general intent and purpose of the ordinance. But then when you read the 8 numerical bullets, most of those bullets talk about what you would do from a community relations, like get involved in knowing the people. There's very little in there that talks about them actually looking at the numbers and helping put together that particular action plan or the caper, which really should be done. That would allow some of the accountability that I'm referring to, as well as promote citizens' participation. We should be more involved. It is also indicated in the caper on page 2 that the Community Relations Director indicated it at the June public meeting as well, that the home program carried over substantial amount of prior year home funding. And I also think she mentioned because there was just not finding enough people that qualified. People didn't qualify either because their credit wasn't well or they didn't have all of the limitations or requirements. I still think that we're not putting enough accountability of making sure that enough citizens know that these dollars are available for them. In the CR-05 goals and outcomes, goes CHDO activity category, affordable housing homeless. It says for the last, not just in the caper this year, but for this year, the 2018-2019 and the 2017-2018 caper said that they were expecting to try to get affordable housing for the homeless. They expected 4 and actually did 0. I find it hard to believe that there's no homeless that qualify for homeless housing.
Amen.
Because what could the qualifications be for homeless housing? But that's a whole nother story. Hopefully we can get that response coming when I provide these comments in the area in which you're supposed to. Then under public service, non-housing communication development, public activities, other low moderate income housing benefits, page 5. It is explained in the plan that the $150,000 loan being paid for W.A. Foster, in the chart, it shows a large number for expected and actual, and it kind of gives you the number of people that have been impacted for that. And that makes sense, but for some reason that number didn't change from the 2017-2018 caper to the 2018-2019 caper. So I'm wondering, how are we really tracking it? And if we are tracking it, did nobody go to the W.A. Foster Center but I did. So at least my few visits should have been added to that number. So I guess there was a lot of copying and pasting, I'm assuming, but I'm not sure. CR10, the racial and ethical composition of families assisted on page 6. The second paragraph narrative reads, however, eligible persons from all racial, ethnic, and gender groups are given the opportunity to apply and receive funding if their household earnings meet eligibility criteria for the city's CDBG and Home Fund project. The city community development funds are utilized to help citizens throughout the city. There are many residents that benefit from this community development activity that are not accounted for in the table above. So then my question was like, well, Okay, let me finish. It says, however, the table does reflect our focus of low to moderate LMI households, which trends towards a majority of African American. The bottom line is, how can you say you're accounting for them, but then they're not in the table? Are they being accounted for or not? So the bottom line is this: the roll has not been monitored appropriately, in my opinion. There is so much more, but just to cut it short, because I know we have some other speakers, I think we lack accountability and responsibility when it comes to the CBDG program. And I think it was mentioned back when we were dealing with the annual action plan that perhaps whoever's in that role should be in that role, because that role in itself carries enough. You can see it's a very highly visible document. It needs to have someone that can legitimately say, if I touched 250 people and made sure that they were giving reasonable funding and whatever, it should be accounted for. It should not say, I have a table, but it don't account for everybody, because that don't make sense. You either know that you benefited these people, especially when you're talking dollars. Did they benefit or not? So if they didn't, then don't say it. Don't fudge. Let's make some accountability for this program, please.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Many of the comments that I would like to make have already been mentioned, so I'll try not to mention them again. But my concerns about this, most importantly, is the timing of this report. For the past 3 years, this information has been made available in September, the month of September. As a matter of fact, in the annual action plan for 2019 to 2020, it's indicated in there that the city will make this information available in September. So it wasn't made available in September, it wasn't made available until November. And that concerns me because I also requested or made a request to speak on this at the October meeting, I believe it was, some additional time to speak on this. And that additional time was disallowed from City Council to talk about this. And
excuse me, but that was the mayor's decision alone?
I'm not sure who it was. I believe
it says decision alone. I'm just telling you. It says
okay.
It wasn't the council decision, it was the mayor.
Okay. Mm-hmm. But nevertheless, a decision was made not to disallow that. And let's see. The timing of it also, I found it interesting that the public notice said that this information was going to be available at certain locations. I believe one of them was the city location, the county location, and also federal location on November the 11th. November the 11th is a national holiday. Their buildings are closed. I looked online. I started looking online for this because I've been waiting for it. And I looked on Friday before the holiday, wasn't there. Saturday, wasn't there. Sunday, wasn't there. Monday morning, it wasn't there. Monday afternoon, Monday evening, I didn't find it. And so I sent a request for it, and after sending that request, I did go back to the site and check, and lo and behold, there it is. Monday, late Monday at least, was the first time this information was available. So therefore, you eliminated 1 day of opportunity to be able to review the available report because it wasn't available. I believe Ms. Pierce mentioned the e-blast method of being able to send out notice about the CAPER meeting. And she also mentioned some others that I didn't know about. But nevertheless, I agree that the efforts that are being made or have been made to let the public know about this have been very poor. And it's sad also because the cost of doing that is included in the funds that the city receives. So the city gets paid to do that, and it's not being done. So the city isn't actually doing what they're saying they're doing in the report and what they should be doing. And if the city can't do it, then maybe somebody else should be administering this fund. The reporting information. I looked at it and I'm like, what is all of these numbers? What are all of these numbers all about? I really don't understand it, because they look like just numbers. And also the way it is displayed. On Excel, there's a way to be able to carry over the headers over to each page. The information is submitted so poorly that you got to go back and forth between page and page and page to check this information out. I don't know how City Council is able to review this thing, this report. And it could be done so much simpler by putting headers on each of the pages below all of these graphs to show quickly when you're reviewing it what these numbers, where they correspond to on these reports. In the report also, there are statements made about meeting with certain entities, and some of those entities are the Advisory Commission. I believe it's the Commission on Public Affairs and Community Development. Well, they haven't been meeting that much. So, oh, I'm sorry. When you look back at their minutes, they hold very few meetings. As a matter of fact, the meeting that was scheduled to present this information was just the early part of this month. And they didn't have a quorum, so they didn't meet on that. And when it goes back to the last one, to the annual action plan, they didn't meet on that. So actually, the council never got any feedback from the advisory commissions, either for the annual plan for 2019 to 20, and I don't believe they provided any input for this particular meeting, because it was on their agenda for their meeting, but they didn't hold the meeting. So actually, you're not getting any feedback from the advisory committee that's supposed to be doing that. Some of the payments that are made from this Community Development Block Fund grant causes me to have some concerns, and those payments deal with after-school enrichment. It was my understanding that the City Council approves the annual action plan, and the annual action plan sets forth those entities that will be receiving funding. Well, in 2018 to 2019, there was no indication on that annual action plan of any funding from the CDBG funds that would be allocated to the mayor's reading program. But yet, funds were, according to the News August, given in 2018 to 2019 fiscal year for the mayor's reading program. The News August also reported that the prior fiscal year, there were also funds that were donated on behalf of the mayor's reading program from the CDBG funds. Nothing in the detailed financials, well, it's in the detailed financials, but it isn't in the annual action plan for that fiscal year. Also in the News August, it was reported that another $1,000 was being donated by the mayor's reading program, and that amount is going to be issued in the next fiscal year. Now, that was before the annual plan for fiscal year 2019 to 2020 was even approved. So it appears that funds are being given, well, a check was given to this person that's going to be valid, I guess, during the next fiscal year, but it was never approved by City Council. So that concerns me as to how these funds are being paid, especially when they aren't on the actual annual action plan. I was looking also at last year's caper and comparing it with the caper for this year. And I started looking at this back in June, I believe it was. That's when it wasn't on the city's website. As a matter of fact, none of those reports, I believe, or very few of them, were on the city's website as it's reported that they will be. But I went back and looked at those minutes, and I then looked at what the final report was for that caper for that year. And in your package of information for that meeting that was held to approve the caper for the prior year, this synopsis of a report was in the material that was on the agenda. This synopsis is not the final report, doesn't look anything like the final report. It looks sort of like the annual action plan. But the actual report, which is now on the website, is entirely different. So what's interesting is on your agenda, there's no sign off on it. Nobody signed off on it. But if you look at the other plan for the prior year, it was signed off. So that raises the question, did you really see the draft caper for 2017 to 2018 before you approved it? Or did you just look at a synopsis of it when you approved it? So that causes some concerns about credibility of information that is being reported. And it also seems that maybe some of that information has been changed. Questions regarding, the alleged agreement. I was informed that there is an agreement where the city agreed to pay from the annual amounts that they receive, which are usually around $300,000 or more from CDBG funds, $150,000 a year back to the city to pay for a loan on W.A. Foster Center. And I was just shocked. 10 years of payments for $150,000 a year are going back to the city of Goldsboro to pay for a recreation center. Now, that's allowable under the ways in which these funds can be used, public facilities. But when was this agreed upon? I can't find that. And I would think that such an agreement is in writing. So I'd like to just see who it was that agreed upon this, because that would certainly reflect on my decision making on who I vote for. I spoke on that. I also saw some other things that concerned me about payments that were made, and it causes me to concern, is there any auditing that is being done for those nonprofits that receive funds from the CDBG funds? And I don't see anything in the current report which indicates that any auditing is being done to see that these nonprofits to whom we give money actually uses that money for the purposes for which they are intended. And that concerns me, because I saw that under the 5-year plan, an agreement was made to pay an entity, ALDA, I believe it is, $30,000 for a food truck. A food truck that would be used for economic development purposes. And the way, as I understand it, it was that this entity would be hiring people and training them on how to establish business and run business of food truck service. But has anybody checked to see if they hired anybody? Because I also see where they received another $20-some thousand, I believe, in another year. Wow. And who's watching them who are receiving the funds? I also looked up this entity, and it appears that the name of it may have been changed by the time they received the $30,000. They also moved. They were originally based in Goldsboro, they're now based in Dudley. So are these funds that were given on behalf of the city for somebody to run a business down in the county in Dudley? That's one of the things that concerns me. I have outlined several other points, but I don't want to sit here and spend all night going over each of them. What is also concerning is, will you actually see any of these additional comments that I intend to make in writing? Because with this short period of time that we've had for this public hearing, all I can do is just point out some topics to you. I do intend to write up all of my comments and submit them. But it appears, since approval is going to be sought from council tonight to sign off on this, that you won't even see those comments or consider them before you make the decision to vote. So those are my concerns. And since this is supposed to be a report card, I'll tell you, my conclusion is the way I would look at this, F is the grade that I would give the city on their administration. And F because you greatly failed to meet my expectations for administering this report. Thank you.
Thank you.
Wow.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Let me say this. I thank you for the opportunity to speak before you this evening. Before I get started, I want to congratulate Councilman Aycock on a victory for defeating me. It was a victory that you deserved. You won, and I want to congratulate you on that. Yes, sir. All right. Let me say this in dealing with this caper, and I'm going to read to you what I've written, but then I'm going to diverge and go into some comments because I did not have time to fully prepare written comments. Okay. Neither the 2018-2019 caper report nor the 2018-2019 annual action plan specifically identify how the plan's priorities were established. It does, however, give an overview of how the top priorities and goals were said to be determined. The action plan is derived from methodologies, it says, on page 1 of the annual action plan. And the methodologies is basically all of these meetings with various service entities and before the annual action plan is created. So these people are allegedly talked with, and then the action plan is created. However, there's a lack of detail. So in my view, it is the lack of detail throughout the 2018-2019 annual action plan and the caper that causes me to question the validity and reliability of both the action plan and the caper. By validity, I mean the degree to which an instrument, method, or device accurately measures what it is said to measure. And by reliable, I mean the degree to which an instrument's methods or devices results are consistent over time. This is due to a lack of documentation concerning both the annual action plan and the caper. 14 times the annual action plan references consultations that took place between key partners of the city DBG and home program administrators. It says, the annual action plan states that they were consulted through one-on-one meetings, regularly scheduled meetings, and phone conversations. However, just how these privately held conversations and or meetings became quantified and or incorporated into the city's annual action plan is not clearly relayed. Because we cannot verify the specifics of the methods used to create the annual action plan and the caper, we cannot attest to the degree to which the methods or the methods results are reliable. The ambiguity that exists translates into how the goals and priorities are identified on page 2 of the annual action plan. On page 2 of the annual action plan, it reads, the top priorities and goals determined in the 2018-2019 action plan include the following. This phrasing does not exclude the prospect of other areas of concern being given priority or even top priority. Only that the top priorities and goals determined in the 2018-2019 action plan include the mentioned 8 priorities on page 2 of the annual action plan. Now, those 8 priorities are this, rehabilitation of owner-occupied single-family units, acquisition, demolition, and clearance of dilapidated housing units, improving and or preserving communities in danger of slum and blight conditions, construction of affordable housing through CHODO activities, providing homebuyer assistance for first-time home buyers, support projects or programs by nonprofit organizations for nonprofit corporations that benefit low to moderate income residents of the city, identification of infrastructure improvements, sewer, sidewalk, water lines, etc., eliminating hazardous materials in dwellings assisted with federal funds. The point is, it is the ambiguity of the methods used that allowed for the prioritization of these 8 things when these 8 things are second to other things. By that I mean, it does not mention a decrease in poverty. That is not a goal of the annual action plan. It does not say strategically, this is to decrease the poverty rate. We in Goldsboro have a 25.9% poverty rate. And the significance of this was even referenced in the action plan. It says, in light of the information presented to the city through a poverty study detailing the city's harsh reality with extreme poverty that has been compared to recent studies and plans conducted since 2005, a freeze of federal funding to local community-based organizations and or nonprofits has been instituted. This is to allow the city the opportunity to internally and through working with a consultant to inventory and assess the effectiveness of practices and services and service delivery models of the past and current CDBG funds. What I'm saying is, basically, there was a freeze. It says that there was a freeze that was put into place for an assessment to be done. Now, here's the thing. If you have a 25.9% poverty rate, that ought to be your top priority, period. The economic development that the annual action plan talks about is not a people-centered economic development. It may be able to be classified as economic development, but will it lower the poverty rate? No. I put forth such a plan that I felt would lower the poverty rate. And before I get into that, let me also say this right here. The type of people that you use as consultants, I am one of. I hold a PhD in sociology. I am an analyst. And if you ask me to help you, I would, and I will. It is my obligation because I got my PhD to help the people of this city, and that's it. I didn't have to do it. That's why I did it. Now, let me say this. People have said, my plan to basically close the Goldsboro Municipal Golf Course and turn it into the biggest recreational draw this side of Raleigh and between the coasts, it would be too expensive. Well, guess what? If we're right now contemplating spending between $12 and $17 million on a new Herman Park Center, that we know is going to cost us and is not going to generate dollars other than maybe dollars for property investors, then we have the money. Now, the trickle-down effects of what I'm saying do is you close the Goldsboro Municipal Golf Course that only services about 75 to 125 people within the city. And when you make it this big draw, guess what? You got to have restaurants. People are going to come downtown and eat. Right now, there's talk of taking the biggest building in Goldsboro and turning it into a hotel. You want to speed up that process? Create the economic development that I'm talking about. Create a recreational area that draws people into this city and brings the money in. When you do that, that's going to speed up the process of that building being turned into a hotel. Apartments. But it's still going to speed up the process. So what I'm saying is this. You're going to create jobs there. Okay? You're going to create jobs through bringing money in. You're going to need hotels. And I'm just saying, we need a people-centered economic development and not an economic development that's based upon property ownership. And I'm going to say this. The rapper DMX said this right here. Y'all been eating long enough now. Stop being greedy. Let's keep it real, partner. Give to the needy. My ribs is touching. You know, don't be surprised if I bite you and snatch the plate. What I'm saying is, poor people in this city need help.
That's right.
Y'all give it to them. You're in the positions to do so. Do it for the people. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Any more speakers on this public hearing? If not, I believe we have to direct, at this point, accept the recommendation of the staff by vote to direct the staff to incorporate any comments at this public hearing into the city's caper. Is that correct, City Manager? Yes. And also authorize the staff to submit any needs identified or comments received to the Department of Housing and Urban Development at HUD after the required comment period. That is part of the finishing of the caper. It's not an approval of caper. It's just saying that we've got to submit these comments. I'll offer that as a motion.
So move.
Second. All in favor? No. So be it. Our next item of business is public comment period. There's a time limit of 3 minutes per speaker. Thank goodness we don't have to do elections anymore. So we won't do elections, but there's 3 minutes. And since it's 8:30, I'm gonna be pretty strict on 3 minutes.
And I'll try and give it to you in less than 3. But my comment has to do with a banquet that I attended for the NAACP this past weekend, on which it indicated on the agenda that the mayor would be making some comments. And I have attended these affairs for the past 3 to 4 years, and each year he has been there to make some comments on behalf of the city. And I think it is a disgrace that after being invited, he didn't show up, and nobody else on behalf of the city showed up to that organization. So I just wanted to make a comment about that.
Thank you, sir. Mm-hmm.
Good afternoon, everyone. I am Sylvia Barnes, and I'm with the Goldsboro Wayne Branch NAACP. And I do want to say that we did not have anyone from the city to attend our banquet. I did speak with the mayor several times, asking him if he would be there. I even brought last year's letter where he wrote to go in our souvenir booklet and a copy of the ad that he usually placed in our souvenir booklet every year. And I came up to the city, to his office several times, and I did not hear anything from him. I assumed that the letter was being sent, but when the book went to the press, we did not have anything from him. We are, as Mr. Martin said earlier, that we are disappointed. On the Wednesday before our banquet on that Friday night, I did come up to the office again, and I said, if the mayor cannot come, could someone from the city please come and attend our banquet, and no one came.
Okay, thank you, ma'am. I'm sorry that happened.
Yes, I just want to say that.
Hold on a minute, sir.
Yep.
I got to get the clock going. Okay,
sorry.
Now the clock's going.
Okay.
You're on the
All right.
clock.
This is a joke. Can I have back those 6 seconds? I'm just, anyway.
No.
Okay, no problem, no problem. I just simply want to ask, or at least say this, that I live on Shelley Drive, and we were supposed to have part of Shelley Drive paved between J. Ryan Road and Samuel, and it has not been paved, and that is the only thing I want to mention. And Councilman Aycock is my council member, and so.
And I'll give you a reason too.
Yes, sir.
We're hitting winter now. And,
Okay.
And the pavers, they don't manufacture the asphalt as much in the winter as they do in the spring. It will be done, it will be on the list in the spring paving, but it's on the list. It's gonna get paved within the year. Don't worry about it. It will get paved.
All right, thank you.
Anyone else? Public comment period.
Hello. My name is Alan Young. I had a big speech I had wrote out all week I wanted to read, but I decided to just speak from my heart. It was some stuff that went on during the election. It was horrible from some seating members, and I feel like it showed a lot of people, like you see how many people came up to speak tonight. I believe that it wasn't all bad. It did awaken some people to be more aware of what goes on in the city. And I hope in the future things like that don't go on, because I do feel like there were a lot of unnecessary things said and done and broadcast that weren't on behalf of the people of the city. They were to please egos, and I think that's something in the future we need to look at, because those are not the type of people that need to be on this board. They need to be serving these people. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else like to speak? If not, we'll close the public comment period. And City Manager, we go with consent agenda.
Yes, sir. Consent agenda items I through N are presented for council approval.
Motion to approve consent agendas I through N, as stated.
Second.
All in favor of approving I through N? I've got to do a roll call.
Mayor Pro Tem Broadway?
Yes.
Councilmember Williams?
Yes.
Councilmember Foster?
Yes.
Councilmember Ham?
Yes.
Councilmember Aycock?
Yes.
Okay, all items are approved. We have no items for individual action. City Manager's report.
Yes, sir. I'd like to make a few comments and thank staff for a lot of events that have been supported and going on. The Paramount Theater did Miss Goldsboro Scholarship Pageant November 9th. White Christmas on the 15th through the 17th. All those shows were sold out. Parks and Recreation has done a Thanksgiving social for adult special population November 13th. They did a fall bowling competition for Wayne County Special Olympics November 13th and 14th with over 100 participants. We also had U.S. Quidditch that was mentioned earlier with 16 universities and 4 club teams, 440 players, 1,200 spectators. And upcoming soon, you'll have the North Carolina Girls Showcase Soccer Tournament, November 22nd through the 24th. You have a statewide athletic committee North Carolina Soccer Tournament, November 29th, with over 50 teams. On United States Youth Soccer, we'll have December 5th through the 8th with teams from all over the nation. And then the annual Jingle in the Park goes December 6th through the 7th from 4 to 8 p.m. at Herman Park. Thank you.
City Attorney, sir.
No report.
Okay, we'll start on this end, and mayor and city council reports and recommendations.
I know I don't know if a lot of people know this or not. It's been an honor to serve with Councilman Bevan Foster. I'm gonna really miss him. You know, he's brought transparency to this council. He's fought for this city. And, you know, I'm proud to call him my friend and my brother. I'm really going to miss him. You know, answer your phone. You know?
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
So, you know, just, you know, y'all just keep him in your prayers. You know, keep, you know, bothering him so he can keep doing his civil duties. I'm sure we don't have to bother him because he cares about the city. You know, I love you, man. Thank you.
Thank you. Love you too, bro.
My only comment is I thank all the participation tonight, and obviously there's been a good deal of support. And I'd like to thank everybody for voting. We almost doubled what we did the last election. So people are really concerned, and let's just keep at it. We'll make this city better if we all vote. And that's all I have, sir.
Thank you, Councilman Williams. A few weeks ago, we honored a few firemen for what they did for Mr. Jalen Suggs, young man that was had a tragedy out on Slocum Street. But I want to honor 2 young heroes tonight. They actually went in before the firemen actually got there, and they tried their best to save their friend.
Is that gentleman out there?
It's kind of hard saying this, but I would like to bring up Joshua and Jeremiah Floyd.
Good.
I asked Ms. Brandy Matthews to come up, and Councilman Williams as well. We have something for you.
Good. Come down, have bring by here. Hey, Antonio, bring them by here so we can shake their hands. Oh.
Future councilwoman.
Congratulations. You're brave. It's hard to go after somebody in a cold pond. You're brave. Congratulations.
Good job, buddy. Good job. Good job.
Okay. Mr. Ham.
I have one more thing to say. I would also like to apologize to Councilman Williams, future Councilman Taj Polak, and Brandy Matthews, Councilwoman Brandy Matthews. She will be taking over my seat, District 4. I messed around and made a mistake by booking a trip for Thanksgiving, and my trip I won't get back until the 3rd, not knowing that we actually had a council meeting on the 2nd. So I would like to apologize for not being here during that time, but I just want to let you know, all of you, that anything you need, I'm just a phone call away. Continue to fight for the city. Hold everybody accountable, transparency, make everybody responsible for what they do. And I thank y'all for continuing on what I've been doing and what Councilman Williams has been doing at this point. Thank you.
Well, I'd like to also thank the voters of this city that turned out. As has already been said, this was the biggest turnout in a long, long time. And those people who did come out and vote, still a small fraction of the total registration that needs to come out in future elections, but those that did come out, I want to thank you for doing so. Secondly, I want to thank Councilman Foster for his service to the city for these 4 years. Also, I would like to say finally that, as has already been mentioned, we have a considerable poverty rate here. We have people that this coming Thanksgiving will have less than others, some nothing to put on their table. And I would encourage the citizens of Goldsboro to reach out to those people that you know that are in need and assist them. My wife and I have found a family that we are going to provide Thanksgiving dinner for, and I would hope that there would be many others like us to do that as well. Thank you.
Yes, thank you for your service.
I forgot. Thank you.
And that's it.
Being no other comments, we stand adjourned.